7 new directions for WWE after Great Balls of Fire. Did anyone else notice that huge banner sporting the face of Roman Reigns and the message, "Get off Mitt in the crowd at Great Balls of Fire"? Those sentiments exist because people are sick of WWE trying to force Reigns down our throats as some kind of holier-than-thou hero. His actions on Sunday change that, and they could take Roman in a completely new direction his character badly needs. Best of all, he's not the only one on the Raw roster to have some buzz coming out of Great Balls of Fire. Way to go, WWE creative team, you're actually weaving intricate plots that have us intrigued. With SummerSlam on the horizon as Raw's next Super Show stop, what's next for the Red brand following Sunday night? Specifically, just who is going to be named as Brock Lesnar's next challenger for the Universal title? 7. Bray Wyatt actually has momentum. WWE need to go back and redo Great Balls of Fire, because they seem to have made the mistake of writing Bray Wyatt to beat Seth Rollins. We're being facetious, of course, but it's hardly common for Wyatt to back up his claims of being a god by winning on pay-per-view, least of all against a man just unveiled as WWE 2K18's cover star. Could this be some momentum for Bray on Raw? It'd be about bloody time, because Wyatt has done little of note other than come across as a babbling buffoon since being drafted from SmackDown. Coming out of Sunday though, he finally has something to shout about that will hopefully lead to more success. Should WWE transition Bray from an anemic feud with Seth into one with promise opposite Finn Balor, then he may yet be rescued. If they don't, then at least Wyatt was given a win on pay-per-view. He has some direction now, WWE, so don't waste it. 6. Singles push for Big Cass. Great Balls of Fire should be a landmark moment in the WWE career of Big Cass. There's nothing left to prove between he and Enzo Amore, so Cass must move on to other feuds as soon as possible. The most logical idea would be placing him against someone like Dean Ambrose or The Big Show. Show is always good for a quick young giant looking to prove himself story, and Ambrose is coming out of a feud with The Miz that has stretched on for far too long. Left with no reason for a rematch with his ex-tag partner, Cass should go on to rack up wins against others. WWE just have to be careful he isn't cast the same as Braun Strowman. That's the worry, but there's enough of a divide in placement on the card between Cass and Strowman to keep things separate. Right now, Cass has to be mowing through babyfaces left and right on the undercard, before eventually aiming high towards a singles title. 5. Sheamus and Cesaro move on from the Hardy Boys. There hasn't been a bad match pitting the Hardy Boys against Sheamus and Cesaro since Matt and Jeff waltzed back onto WWE programming at WrestleMania. That doesn't mean those teams need to keep wrestling though, quite the contrary, they should now be moving on from one another. Sheamus and Cesaro won the Iron Man match on Sunday fair and square. It's time to feed them other teams to work with on Raw, and although it's hard to pinpoint exactly who would be the best fit, it has to be someone other than the Hardys. This is one rivalry that needs a rest before it grows stale. If WWE could somehow bring American Alpha over from SmackDown, all problems would be solved. It'd be a wonderful match for the Athletic Raw Tag Team Champs. Failing that, WWE could run the Revival vs Sheamus and Cesaro as heel versus heel, or do the same with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. At 24. The Hart is going their separate ways. After losing clean at Great Balls of Fire, the nostalgia kick of seeing Matt and Jeff Hardy return to WWE is now complete. The brothers have been Raw Tag Team Champions, winning them on the grand stage of Mania, no less, and worked a lengthy feud with Sheamus and Cesaro. Could a split be next? Rumors persist that WWE wish to own Matt's broken gimmick and use it on TV. If that happens, then keeping Jeff as a more straightforward singles star and feuding the siblings could be an idea. Yes, the Hardys did do this in TNA, but more casual fans who only tune into Raw, SmackDown and WWE pay-per-views won't know much about that. Matt did sneak some broken magic into his pre-match promo on Sunday, and some in the live crowd picked up on this. Casual fans would enjoy it, and more hardcore wrestling viewers want to see him return to the bizarre character he played on Impact Wrestling that turned rave reviews. 3. Samoa Joe being cycled out of the main event picture. Of all the names that will be in the Universal title mix come SummerSlam, Samoa Joe won't be one of them. At least for now, his main event dreams are over, although he did prove that he belongs in there with guys the standing of Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire. Losing to Lesnar in the show's main event is hardly a disgraceful way for WWE to treat Joe, but it is hard to see him still being a focal point on Raw in the immediate future. For the next few months, or until WWE realize there's a lack of interest post-SummerSlam, it looks like the big Samoan will be kept on ice as far as being a headliner goes. Fans love Joe, so turning him into a rugged babyface is one option. Seeing him smash The Miz and take the Intercontinental title would inject that belt with some much-needed excitement. The lack of it surrounding the IC title isn't Miz's fault, it's more to do with the never-ending feud between he and Dean Ambrose. Joe could remedy that. 2. Roman Reigns showing more heel characteristics. There's no way Roman Reigns taking a long hard look at himself in the rear-view mirror of that ambulance was coincidence. This is something WWE clearly planned from the off, for Reigns to have a hard origin for the company poster boy to come across as more than just a superhero to the kids. That wasn't working anyway. Reigns should be throwing caution to the wind and looking to injure guys like Braun Strowman, because it gives him back some of that cool aura he had when acting as a destroyer in The Shield. Since that group disbanded, Roman has been too nicey nice, and that approach has led to him ironically becoming one of WWE's least cool stars. Before backing up that ambulance and outright attempting to maim Braun, Roman had an internal battle with himself live on air at Great Balls of Fire. Looking into the mirror at his own reflection, he was contemplating what this could mean to those who idolize him. 1. Sowing the seeds for Kurt Angle's in-ring return. WWE have options coming out of Great Balls of Fire. Firstly, they could have Raw GM Kurt Angle book Braun Strowman, the winner of the ambulance match, against Brock Lesnar for the Universal title at SummerSlam. Secondly, Braun's injuries may take the Giant out of that match, handing it by default to Roman Reigns. Should that happen, then Strowman would be out for Angle's blood, and that's a great way to transition Kurt from suited authority figure to spandex-wearing badass. People want to see Angle wrestle again anyway, and it'd feel refreshing to watch him work someone the size of Strowman. There are certainly worse ideas. Braun looked at Kurt with an angry stare after walking away from the wreckage of his ambulance crash, almost like he was blaming his GM for what happened. Even if Strowman vs. Angle doesn't happen, WWE can tease it and ultimately have Stephanie McMahon return to chastise Kurt anyway.